Hi, I'm Kara from AMACO. Welcome to Glazing with AMACO. Today, I'm going to share with you my best tips and tricks for using the new CRAWLS glazes from AMACO. So, I have a few things that I wanted to share with you. Number one is how different it can be to have thick to thin application with your CRAWLS. For example, this tile shows you the difference between application in using the CRAWLS. So this is 3 coats of Celadon Snow, and then we applied 1 coat of CRAWL, 2 coats of CRAWL, and 3 coats of CRAWL. You can see how 1 coat of CRAWL gives you very, very small beads. It's because it's on top of the Celadon, it's just a crackle, but it's very, very small, very, very fine crackle, almost difficult to see unless you're really close up. 2 coats gives you larger cracks and larger shapes of red, and then 3 coats of CRAWL on top of the Celadon, you get this much more dramatic sort of CRAWL texture going on, happening, this cracking, and you can really see it dramatically. The same is true when you're applying the CRAWLS on a piece. You can see how fewer coats, here at the bottom is just 1 coat of the red CRAWL, gives you smaller and more closely spaced beads, and it was increasing coats as it came up, which gives you larger and more widely spaced beads. But look at how fantastic that is. And once fired, these are really on here. They do not come off, which I had heard was a concern for some people, that maybe after firing they come loose. They do not. They stay right on there. But look at how you can get such a great variation from small to larger beads. That is one way to get exactly the kind of CRAWL that you want on your piece. If you want to have tiny beads close together, 1 or 2 coats. If you want big beads farther apart, do 3 or maybe even 4 coats. You should test with your clay and your firing schedule before doing it on a big piece that you've spent a lot of time on. Another thing is to make sure that you shake your jar really well, especially if it has speckles in it. I always put my finger on top of the jar so that just in case it's not screwed on really tightly, it doesn't come flying off and glaze go everywhere. I know you've done it. I've done it. Shake your jar really well to make sure that the glaze is thoroughly mixed and that the speckles are evenly distributed throughout the glaze. When applying the CRs, if you're going to be applying thick coats or you're applying over a velvet underglaze, you might want to try applying it over a coat of gum solution. Apply the gum solution onto your ware and then almost immediately apply the CR glaze over the gum solution. The gum solution kind of acts as a glue and holds the glaze onto the ware. Don't let it sit for too long. If it has been on the ware overnight, it may be too dry and you may need to apply it again. The CR glazes are going to crack and might peel a little bit before firing. If you're having trouble with them peeling and with handling them before they go into the kiln, you can apply wax or acrylic medium on top of the CR glaze before it's fired, and it will help to create a coating that holds that on there. It makes it a little bit easier to get into the kiln without things falling off. Last trick is make sure that your kiln shelves are really well washed. What I found is sometimes some of the CRAWLS can flake off during firing. If your kiln shelves are not well washed, those CRAWL glazes will stick. But if they're washed, they'll just pop right off. It's really easy. Always apply your kiln wash in very, very, very thin coats. Once the CRs are fired on, they stay on. You don't have to worry about them once they're fired. Sometimes though, little pieces will come off in the firing. Now I'm going to show you how I glaze a cup using those techniques. So first, I'm going to start with my bisqued cup and I'm going to apply gum solution. Your gum solution should be a little thick, a little gummy. If it's really thin and watery, you should get new. As soon as the gum solution is dry to the touch, it's ready for me to put my CRAWLS on. So here I go. Make sure that my crawls are nicely mixed, and I just brush that right on top. One coat. See how smooth it goes on? Yes, I do go over my coats until that coat is dry. I just consider that a single coat. Now that it's dry, I'll apply my second coat, third coat. There we go. Now that it's dry to the touch, to keep that from coming off, I'm going to apply a coat of wax resist. And I just gently brush that on. You can see the cracks that form in the CRAWLS glaze before it's fired. That is perfectly normal. We just want to make sure that this stays on and is easy to load into the kiln. The wax helps to keep it from getting knocked off while you're waiting for it to be fired. There we go. And it's ready. So here's the cup. This came out perfect. So we have chartreuse underglaze with the speckle pink crawl on top. Isn't it beautiful? Look at the crawl. Fantastic. Satin matte moss on the inside. I love this combo. Next sample. This is the speckle teal over Supernova, the Cosmos 6. So yes, it does move, it does crawl, and you still have the iridescent look of the Cosmos. This is several different crawls layered over each other. I started with the lime and then layered the dark blue and the teal speckle over it. Underneath is the amethyst velvet. This is iron luster, PC33, with the red crawl layered on top of it. Fantastic sort of red to gray combination. You can see that the red does move as the iron luster pulls it, but it does not flow off of the cup. This is speckle pink over Celadon Snapdragon. As you can see, over a stiff glaze like the Celadon Snapdragon, the crawl does not move. It just cracks, separates, and stays where you put it. This is dark blue crawl over Ocean Drift, one of our PCF glazes that is new for 2025. As you can see, the Ocean Drift does pull it a little bit, but not very much, just a little, and you still see that cracking apart and the dark blue contrast. Now I'm going to show you some different ways to use crawls and get some really interesting effects. So for this cup, I used satin matte seafoam SM24, and then I used a stencil taped over the cup and the speckle white CR12 over it, and you can see I got this fantastic pattern. Since the satin mats are really stiff, the pattern stayed in place. You can do the same thing with Celadons or any other really stiff glaze, and it'll stay right where you put it. But I love this kind of retro look going on here. You can use any kind of stencil you want, or you can use a wax resist. For the next cup, I taped off sections and then applied Celadon Snow in stripes over this cup, and then took the tape off and applied the speckle teal on the entire cup. So I get areas of crackle and areas of crawling. So I get texture and smooth, and since the top part is all glazed, this is a food safe cup. I love the combination of texture and smooth going on here. The last sample I want to show you is combing. So in this one, I applied Red Rock, Celadon's Red Rock, and then I applied the lime crawl over the top, and I used a comb to drag through the crawl and create this pattern. Check that out. You can also get directional kind of beading by using the brush in specific directions. Some of the other questions that I've had include, should you bisque on velvet underglaze before applying the crawl? I recommend that you do bisque your underglaze on before applying the crawl. Although most of the time it works well, I have seen a couple of instances where the crawl has pulled up the velvet underglaze, especially if the velvet is a little too thick. I find that bisquing it on first avoids that problem altogether. No worries. One of the other questions is, are the crawls stable? Yes, the crawls are very stable when you use them on top of a glaze that is very stiff, like the Celadons or the satin mattes, or if you use them on top of a velvet. They will stay exactly where you put them. If you're using them over a runny glaze like Supernova or a PC glaze, they will move, especially as you get a lot layered on there. Peeling before firing. Someone was noticing cracking and peeling before firing. The crawls will crack before they're fired. That is in the nature of the glaze. If they're peeling, you can help to keep them on the wear by applying gum solution before you apply the crawls, or by applying wax after you've applied the crawls. Both of those can help keep the glaze in place until it gets into the kiln. So if you have other questions about the crawls, go ahead and drop them in the comments and I will get to you as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me on my glazing adventures. Happy glazing!